Hello, hello, and welcome to Just Around the Block. I am Amanda B. Johnson.
And I am Michael Scott, otherwise known as Diamond Michael Scott.
That's right, Mr. Scott. And Mr. Scott and I are two cryptocurrency veterans talking about what's ahead in the new digital economy. So, how are you this morning, Mr. Scott, by the way?
Life is great. Life is great. What about you, Amanda?
I would have to say the same. I don't know if I'm ever doing quite as great as you are, but that's part of the reason why we get along, I think.
Right. Okay, that sounds good. Well, you ready to roll? You ready to roll with this today?
I am ready to roll. And dear viewers, allow me to tell you that Mr. Scott and I will each be sharing two stories with you. Neither of us has told the other what our stories are up front, so you will be learning along with us in real time. So, on that note, Mr. Scott, what do you have for us?
There is an article that's in Fortune magazine. Actually, it's CNBC, and it's about the cryptocurrency Ripple. You know all about Ripple, right?
I know some things about Ripple. What do you want to tell me about it?
Well, here's the headline. It's cryptocurrency Ripple jumps as in price as traders speculate on Coinbase adding it to its trading platform. You heard anything about this?
I did. In fact, I remember seeing something similar to that headline, and then, as is so like them, I saw some postings mere hours later from Coinbase itself saying, "We are not adding any
Right,
new coins," by the way.
right, right. Which oftentimes happens when things like this kind of sneak out, and all of a sudden the affected party starts to backtrack a little bit. But I have a feeling that there is some truth to this.
Oh,
Yeah. So just in reading the article, Coinbase obviously has added other cryptos of late, the Bitcoin Cashes of the world. The Obviously Ethereum has been on for a while, and gosh, I'm trying to think of what the other one is.
they have
Um,
Litecoin as well.
Litecoin, exactly. I think it's pretty predictable that Ripple would be the logical next phase for them.
Okay. So you imagine that there was some leak somehow, or just that that is the logical next step, but Coinbase's people are denying it just because they don't want to have the pot stirred.
The next step is coming from me. The uh, the rumor, whether it leaked out, that's a whole nother question. But I think it's a foregone conclusion that Ripple, sooner rather than later, will be a part of the suite of cryptocurrencies that Coinbase has.
Well, all right.
Now, I have a concern. You want
Oh,
to
what's
hear it?
that? Yes.
Well, as many of our viewers know, Coinbase has struggled mightily as their demand has gone up. You're probably aware of a bit of that.
Right. I've heard crazy, I think they're self-reported numbers, but Coinbase's self-reported numbers are something like it couldn't be like 100,000 new users signing up a day at one point.
We've heard numbers like that, whether they're true or not. What we do know is that the site has experienced enormous demand amid the continual increase in
Right.
interest among cryptocurrency enthusiasts across the world.
So where does your concern lie then?
They have had some real challenges in terms of handling the demand from a UX for our viewers obviously means customer service standpoint. They've had some outages and downtime and um, some real missteps amid this enormous growth that they've been experiencing.
I see. So are you predicting then that the addition of yet another coin, be it Ripple or really any other coin, would exacerbate the already existing user experience problems?
I can't speak for what they've done in terms of expanding their capacity. But I do think their previous experience is definitely a cautionary tale in terms of taking on too much too quickly. Let's face it, this space is growing enormously fast. And so I think it's critically important for them to be very, very strategic in terms of their moves to make sure they're not, quote, outstripping their infrastructure.
Interesting. Well, certainly there is more and more competition coming up in the crypto brokerage space. So I imagine that there will be increasingly, rather decreasing allowable margins for error.
Absolutely. Guess what, Amanda?
What?
It's your turn.
That, well, my first story is actually a conglomeration of a few different stories that all make a single point to me. It started when I stumbled upon this CoinDesk headline called Wu-Tang Clan rapper's son to
I
launch
saw that. Oh my
to
God, I
to
saw that.
launch cryptocurrency. And so
Right.
I look into this, right? Because I'm wondering to myself, what does this Wu-Tang Clan rappers, I mean, this guy is into blockchains and he knows about cryptography and network science and network security. Like, whoa, how fancy that he would launch a cryptocurrency. But I go on to read it and realize that CoinDesk isn't using the word cryptocurrency to mean like a new blockchain based network. CoinDesk is using the word cryptocurrency to mean a token that lives on top of another blockchain. And
There's a distinction there, right?
well, I should think that if there is in my mind, and if there isn't in the minds of others, I would think that it would behoove them if there were. Which reminded me that today, Merriam-Webster added, okay,
Yes.
so yes, Merriam-Webster just
Yeah.
announced all of their new words for their 2018 dictionary editions. And among their 850 new words were cryptocurrency, initial coin offering, and blockchain. And so it got me wondering, okay, what could a word be that describes the kind of token that this Wu-Tang rapper's son is launching on top of another blockchain to distinguish it so that it doesn't seem as though it's its own cryptocurrency because
Right.
it's not. And so, Michael, that led me to the third bit of this story, which is I started thinking to myself, okay, what is a token that has been launched that did not try to call itself, and I mean a token on top of another blockchain, that did not try to call itself a cryptocurrency, but nor was it trying to act as a security without calling itself a security. Like where's that thing? And I thought, CryptoKitties. What did
Right.
CryptoKitties call themselves? So I went to their website, and CryptoKitties called themselves a crypto collectible. Now, that's a long word that we probably won't be throwing around very often. That's like 6 syllables or something. So, if not crypto collectible, does it not seem to you, Mr. Scott, that at least the spirit of the term crypto collectible is more accurate for what Mr. Wu-Tang Clan is doing, is more accurate than the term cryptocurrency?
No doubt. No
So,
doubt. What are you thinking?
I mean,
What's
these
coming up for
words
you?
these words have to get invented, do they not? Satoshi Nakamoto
Absolutely.
did not invent the word blockchain. I would love to know who did invent the word blockchain. Dear viewers, if you know who did, please tell me in the comments below. But what's more, if you yourself maybe help me brainstorm a word for a token that lives on top of a blockchain so that it doesn't get called a cryptocurrency because in the case of the Wu-Tang story, he's launching his token on the TAO. I don't know if that's pronounced Tao or DAO.
The Dow.
Okay, so he's
Yeah.
launching his token on the DAO blockchain. That makes the DAO token the cryptocurrency of that blockchain network.
Right.
So there needs to be a word to differentiate this guy's token from the DAO cryptocurrency.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's an
Well,
interesting article. Yeah, and I did come across that, and I actually thought to myself, I wonder if Amanda is going to pick that one.
you
And I
did
thought,
not.
yes, I did. And I thought to myself, nah, Amanda's not a rapper type, so she'll
Well,
probably bypass it.
well, you're right on the latter count there.
Okay.
But that's it for my story. Tell, what's your next story?
It may dovetail into what you just shared. My second story is about all of these are rumors afoot relative to Amazon and this whole concept around what people are coining, interestingly enough, Amazon coin replacing Bitcoin. And it reads here more than half of respondents in a new Lend You survey said they would use an Amazon created cryptocurrency for purchases on the site. More than 58% of Prime users said they would consider using Amazon coins. And about 45% are open to the possibility of using Amazon as their primary bank account. That was the other big news is that Amazon is looking at getting into the banking industry. Question, Amanda. Do you think this will have an effect on the advancement of cryptocurrency? Oh, I'm sorry, digital currency, um, as a modicum of monetary exchange?
A lot of what you're telling me is new to me. So I've not heard of this concept of Amazon coins, and I've not
It's
heard of Amazon getting into banking. So maybe you could give me and potentially the viewers as well just a bit more background.
the Amazon coin piece, as far as I can tell, is just hype and rumor right at the present. That for many people really makes kind of logical sense given Amazon's vast ecosystem. Many people are saying, why wouldn't Amazon have their own coin?
Okay, so the first part
Yeah,
of the story you're saying is like pollster sentiment or poll taker sentiment of people saying I trust Amazon so much that if they launched any kind of crypto, permissioned or non, that I'd be all over that. Is that right?
yes, it's pure conjecture at this point, from what I can tell.
Okay, and now
But
the second part of the story with the banking, what was that?
there have been reports that Amazon is looking at building a strategic relationship in the financial services industry to provide a banking option, particularly for those individuals that are unbanked, that are looking for a way to, obviously transact money.
So your question to me then was, how do I think that the potential launch of like an Amazon banking whatever, potentially for unbanked people, how would that stack up against cryptocurrencies as we know them?
Yeah, how would it affect the cryptocurrency, all of the advancements that's taking place in terms of cryptocurrency? And in a sense, have we missed the boat in terms of the use of cryptocurrency as a payment rail? There's been a lot of chatter about obviously the investment piece of it, the speculative investment aspect of cryptocurrency. Uh, where in turn there have been suggestions that we may be really, or have to this point, really missed the boat in terms of what Satoshi Nakamoto originally intended, and that was for it to be a peer to peer way of transacting money.
Well, my goodness, Mr. Scott, you do bring up an interesting point there, which is if any of these cryptocurrencies as we know them were easy enough to use and had enough buy-in from various sectors of the economy at this point, then in all likelihood, Amazon would have started taking that cryptocurrency for payment already. And this notion of Amazon entering the space to compete on their own would probably be a non issue because it would be so much more profitable for them to just sell more products for that cryptocurrency that they had started taking than to put the time and investment into trying to come up with some kind of solution of their own, I would have to guess. And so, I mean, I think you're asking the golden egg question, which is which of the cryptocurrencies as we know them, if any, is poised to break out of the more or less ridiculous stage that it's in now. And I say ridiculous in that we're talking about networks that are getting written about in mainstream publications on a daily basis that are worth billions upon billions of dollars. And yet, even among their investors, there are people who don't know how to use them. And even if
Right.
they did know how to use them, where and how would they use them for the most part?
Right. That has sparked a long-standing question for me is whether the investment side and the use of cryptocurrencies as a payment rail can coexist in the same, cryptocurrency.
Well, they have to because anybody investing in something in the cryptocurrency space right now has to be doing so based on the belief that this will one day become more useful than it is now, more used than it is now. Otherwise, why would you invest? If you didn't expect the value to go up due to increased usage and usefulness, there would be no point in investing. And so I think that these use cases have to start happening because if you have something that exists as an investment thing alone, like, oh, I don't buy this thing because I think it's going to grow in usage and demand, but rather I invest in it because investment. Okay, yeah, that's a prime recipe to lose your money.
Right, and it would be very interesting to do some sort of survey to see to really get a better sense as to why people are investing. My sense is that they are investing for investing purposes. I think a lot of people have very little, if no thought of it being used as a, transactional currency that could, be a valuable substitute for fiat.
And I guess that is that scares me, Mr. Scott. If you can maybe
Yeah.
just say some less scary things for a moment. Well, I mean, I guess the best case scenario then is we can hope that the capital that's investing for investment's sake, meaning not doing research and buying something because they think that the thing they're buying will be more demanded in the future, hence their share of it will
Right,
command,
right.
a greater purchasing power. I guess we can only hope that at least one or more of these cryptocurrencies will just break out and start to be useful enough and bring enough uh, industries into its network that it can just slowly absorb the original capital that had been misallocated in so many other places so that we don't get the much talked about like crypto bubble burst, so that it's not
Right.
some horrible thing but rather no, like with time, the non-useful crap investment for investment's sake can be weeded out, and everyone can just kind of slowly be like, oh, okay, I'll put my money where, okay, it's being useful. It's growing in a real way rather than just a guessing game way. I
I
mean, do
would
you
concur.
think
Yeah.
any of the cryptos are currently? I mean, we should talk about we should talk about this. Do you think any of the cryptocurrencies are currently even aiming toward that goal of saying, like, don't worry about it, Amazon, like, we've got you covered. How about you just start using us for payments instead?
Well, I'm going to probably sound a little biased, but I mentioned, you and I have talked oftentimes about Dash.
Right?
There's one in overseas, I think essentially out of Switzerland called Waves that I think has some potential. These are examples of cryptocurrencies that I think are really doing it right. They're doing it slowly, methodically, with a lot of thought behind it, specifically tied to how it will be employed for everyday use versus the conversation or it being articulated as being a speculative cryptocurrency.
So, for any of our listeners who may not know that much about Dash or that much about Waves, why don't we just give brief overviews of them? I believe you know more about Waves than I do, Mr. Scott. So, if you'd give an overview of that, and then I'll give an overview of Dash.
Waves is designed as a comprehensive platform that really kind of started out foundationally as a place to for folks to create their own kind of signature tokens. But it's much more than that. If you go to their main site, which is, I believe, wavesplatform.com, it has a way to toggle back and forth between Bitcoin, US dollar, the euro, the yuan. It's designed, they're working feverishly to try to create this comprehensive platform that is specifically going to be targeting, um, its use.
What is its
Um,
use? A platform to do what?
Everyday transactions, realizing that we've got to figure out that um, the challenge between getting crypto, toggling between crypto and cash, fiat currency, that sort of thing.
So, they're aiming to facilitate payments as well as allowing the word we're looking for, which we haven't yet found, as well as allowing a collectible tokens to also live on top of their blockchain. Am I understanding correctly?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Why do you think they're set apart in your mind from any of the other blockchains which also enable that, like such as Ethereum or DAO, for example?
I look at the speed in which these things are kind of taking off. You see so many of these projects and they come galloping out of the gate, and there's a fever pitch around them. Waves has kind of floated under the radar a little bit, and I think that's in large part due to their team that seems to have a fundamental belief that it's important to take this in measured steps, and to make sure that it's done right, with obvious concerns like security, concerns like just basic UX, customer service, how navigable the site is. And so they've really taken their time, and from what I can tell, having been on their site, multiple times, that they're about doing it right versus doing it quickly. And in
So
that way, it kind of, for me, mirrors Dash, which I'll allow you to talk about.
I was just about to say to you, Mr. Scott, if flying under the radar and working quietly is what interests you, yes, I can see why you're also interested in Dash, which is, I think, when you have a coin like Dash that's saying we're working on one thing, and that one thing is payments, like money, just just electronic cash, that's it. Not working on anything else except that. It's so interesting because within the wider cryptosphere and all these new things we hear of coming out every day, like working on electronic cash just starts to look just boring.
Right.
Yeah, like, oh, you're working on money. Sorry, I thought you were innovative. Right?
Right.
Right.
Put you in
And
the just put you in the basic fintech bubble or the
yes,
fintech bucket.
right. And yeah, so the reason that I am, you know, bullish on Dash at this time is because things have happened so kind of horse before the cart in the crypto space, which is Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper said, you know what this thing He didn't call it a blockchain, but you know what this thing that I've outlined here would be really good for and really useful for? Electronic cash. I think we need that. And then fast forward nearly 10 years later. Did you know we're nearly 10 years after Bitcoin first came out?
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. So nearly 10 years later, and the electronic cash app, if you will, is still totally up for grabs.
Right.
And that's just so wild to me, just how far, there is. Because if electronic cash is just the first app of a blockchain, and like, hey, there are really going to be all these other apps that are so cool too. I mean, dang, like we are still fetuses in this space because electronic cash has still not gotten its champion yet. And so, yeah.
The operative word is stay tuned, right?
Well, it is. And funny that you say that. I was reading just this morning the Dash Core Group monthly update. And yeah, it's pretty much, it's in Dash right now. It's a waiting game. And if you don't know what I mean when I say that, so basically there is this version of Dash that's being worked on and has been being worked on since it was revealed in December of 2015. And if I may say, I was actually there in the physical location on the Earth the day that the founder of Dash, Evan Duffield, first open sourced his plans for what he calls evolution, which is a cryptocurrency that operates like cryptocurrency, is a cryptocurrency, but does not feel or look like cryptocurrency at all. Something that it's rather like that your mother might feel comfortable with. And I was there in Mexico City, Mexico in December of 2015 when Evan Duffield first revealed that. And so it's been basically this big investment of faith ever since, which is, there are a lot of people who, after 2.5 years, are still invested in this vision that Evan Duffield said, I think we can make cryptocurrency just feel and look like Venmo and get rid of the appearance of cryptographic elements and basically just be online banking 2.0 while running as pure peer-to-peer crypto on the back end.
Right.
And so the waiting game is, will Dashcore Group release the first version of Evolution in 2018, as they have said that they will?
Yeah. And all signs point to that.
We shall see, won't we, Mr. Scott?
We will. So did we get to your second piece?
No, and I'm ready to give you my second piece and the final piece of the show, dear viewer, which
Okay.
is something that I just stumbled upon right before the show started, and it has a personal draw to me because for anyone who doesn't know, which is likely everyone, I have recently relocated to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, Sim City, Nevada. And I came across this story this morning on a website called Sludge Feed, and it's called "This Strip Club Accepts Every
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency on Bittrex." Yes.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, well, that's cool. I mean, that's cool, but it got way, way cooler as I read more into it. So let me just read this. Okay, so the Innovative Nightclub is comprised of two areas, the main floor and a members only area that requires a balance of 5,000 Legends Room tokens, currently worth about $4,200. And I was like, wait a minute. This is a perfect tie-in to what my first story was, which is, like these collectible tokens which live on top of base networks, except these people, the Legends Room strip club in Las Vegas, are actually doing something right with their token. Because so many of these ICO tokens, as they're called, right? What's their value proposition? What are they selling?
They're trying to sell value, basically.
Ha!
They're trying to yeah. But to me, a lot of it's just pixie dust.
Well, and it would have to be because what they're they're nominally selling ownership of their enterprises, but they're
Right,
not at all selling ownership of their enterprises because most of them don't want to register with traditional governmental bodies who regulate
right,
that. And so, because they're not selling actual ownership in their enterprises, uh, even if they were so bold as to still promise profit sharing, they are under no obligation whatsoever to engage in any profit sharing. And so this token, this Legends Room token, and by the way, I appreciate that they're calling it a token and not a cryptocurrency.
hmm
Uh, this Legends Room token, at least it has a purpose. And what is that purpose? Well, if I purchase 5,000 of them, I get to sit in the fancy members only area at the Legends Room. That's an actual use that I can get out of owning this token, which is way more than you can say for most things being listed on coinmarketcap.com right now.
right, right.
So I wanted to know where the Legends token lives, and it lives on Ethereum.
hmm
And so, yeah, so that just, this to me is just an example of, oh, that's an actual useful thing to do with a token and and I'm sure it still raises some funds for them, but it doesn't have to be this weird thing that so many of these ICOs out there are doing, which is they want to raise money, but rather than offer real value, like, hey, you can come sit in our members only area of the strip club and like be one of the coolest people in Vegas, they're just saying, oh, the value of our token is the value. Trade it.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
trade it. So yeah, I mean, to me, it makes a case again for these early adopter, for rather for marginalized players who are early adopters of these blockchain-based technologies, like the drug people, the stripper people, the pornographers, all these kinds of people who either have trouble getting bank accounts, or or just the wider economy frowns on them in general, while patronizing them secretly at night.
Right.
They're the ones who are really, I think, setting a fantastic example for how to use blockchain type applications in a real business setting and provide real value to your customers.
It's an interesting experiment, and I think really speaks to kind of the mindset of Vegas in terms of taking chances.
And that is our show for today, dear viewers. Leave us your feedback in the comments below and subscribe if you feel like it.
Yes, and remember, this is a conversation. Amanda and I are just the catalyst to fuel dialogue and discussion in this very exciting space. So we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye bye.